I almost let it ring. It was 3:17 in the morning, and the shift had been dead quiet for nearly an hour. The kind of quiet where the air feels heavy, like even the fluorescent lights are tired. I remember staring at the blinking cursor on my screen while the phone rang behind me, thinking that if I didn't turn around, if I didn't acknowledge it, maybe it would stop. It didn't. And I answered it. That was the last call I took that night. I wish I hadn't. At the time, I was working overnight dispatch for a small private security company. Not 911. Not law enforcement. We handled alarm systems for office buildings, warehouses, storage facilities, places that were empty at night but wired with sensors that went off at the slightest movement. My job was simple. When an alarm triggered, the system sent a signal to our office. I'd call the client first. If no one answered, I'd dispatch one of our patrol units to check the property. Most of the time it was nothing: wind rattling a door, a faulty motion sensor, a cleaner who forgot to disarm the system. The office was a single room on the second floor of a building that housed a tax preparer and a dentist during the day. At night, I was alone. Just me, a wall of monitors, 2 phones, and the steady hum of electronics. I liked the isolation at first. No small talk. No management hovering. Just procedure and routine. The first few weeks were uneventful. I learned the client list by heart. I recognized alarm codes without checking the manual. I knew which warehouse on Industrial Drive always triggered a false motion alarm when the temperature dropped too fast. Nothing about the job felt dramatic. That night started the same way. The early part of the shift was busy enough to keep me alert. A motion alarm at a pharmacy that turned out to be a cleaning crew. A door contact fault at a storage unit. Routine calls. Calm voices. Paperwork. By 2:45 a.m. Everything slowed down. The patrol units checked in from their last rounds. The system dashboard showed green across the board. No active alarms. No pending notifications. The office felt smaller after 3 o'clock. The streetlights outside the window cast long, pale bars across the carpet. The vending machine in the hallway downstairs thumped once and went silent. I remember checking the clock at 3:16 a.m. At 3:17, the line labeled "Incoming" client lit up and started ringing. That in itself wasn't strange. Clients called at odd hours sometimes, forgotten codes, locked out employees, panicked managers who thought they left a door open. What made me hesitate was the number on the caller ID. It was one of ours. Not the main office line. Not a patrol unit cell. It was a direct line assigned to one of our monitored properties, a small accounting firm downtown. The line was only supposed to be used by the alarm panel itself to send automated signals. It wasn't a voice line. It rang again. I turned in my chair and picked up. "Security dispatch," I said, the words automatic. There was no response. But I could hear something. Not static. Not silence. Breathing. Slow. Close. Measured. I leaned back slightly, adjusting the receiver against my ear. "Hello." The breathing continued. I checked the screen in front of me. No alarm had triggered for the accounting firm. The system showed normal status. No door contacts open. No motion sensors tripped. "Is this Mr. Keller?" I asked, naming the listed contact for the property. The breathing stopped. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Then a voice came through, quiet and steady. "Are you alone?" It wasn't panicked. It wasn't rushed. It sounded like someone asking a casual question in a waiting room. "Yes," I said, before I could stop myself. There was a small pause. "Good," the voice replied. The line went dead. I sat there for a moment, still holding the receiver to my ear long after the tone had flattened into silence. prank call, I told myself. Someone spoofing the property number. Kids. Drunk. Bored. It wasn't the first time someone had messed with the office line. We'd had a few odd calls before, breathing, silence, laughter. It came with the territory. Still, something about the question stuck with me. Are you alone? It wasn't threatening. It wasn't urgent. It sounded like confirmation. I logged the call in the system notes, 3:17 a.m. Incoming voice call from Keller accounting panel line. No alarm activity. Caller hung up. I didn't dispatch a unit. There was no alarm to justify it. At 3:22, the same line lit up again. It rang once. Twice. I hesitated longer this time. Then I answered. Security dispatch. Silence. No breathing. No background noise. Just a faint hum. Hello. I said. After a few seconds, the voice returned. Did you lock the back door? My stomach tightened. What back door? I asked. There was no back door to our office. We had a single entrance from the stairwell. I had locked it when I arrived. The one you forgot, the voice said. I glanced at the office door automatically, even though I knew it was locked. I think you have the wrong number, I said. Another pause. Then the voice said, you shouldn't have answered the first time. The line went dead again. This time, the silence in the room felt different. I stood up and checked the office door, turning the handle even though I knew it wouldn't move. It held firm. I walked to the window and looked down at the parking lot. Empty. My car was the only one there. When I sat back down, the monitors seemed brighter. I checked the Keller accounting account again. Still no alarm activity. Everything normal. I considered calling the listed contact to confirm no one was at the property, but it was after 3 in the morning. Waking someone up over a strange phone call felt excessive. I told myself it was harmless. At 3:29, the phone rang again. Same line. I let it ring 5 times before picking up. Security dispatch. The breathing was back. Closer. More deliberate. I didn't speak. After a moment, the voice said, it's quieter there than I expected. I felt a slow chill spread through my chest. What do you want? I asked. The voice didn't answer directly. You should check the hallway, it said. There is no hallway, I replied automatically. This is a secured office. The voice exhaled softly, almost amused. There is now. The line disconnected. I stayed seated for several seconds, staring at the blank monitor. Then, against my better judgment, I stood up and opened the office door. The stairwell light flickered once, then steadied. There was no one there. No sound of footsteps. No door closing downstairs. Just the faint smell of dust and the distant hum of the building's ventilation. I closed the door and locked it again. When I turned around, the monitors at my desk had changed. The system dashboard was still green, but one of the smaller CCTV feeds, usually inactive, had come online. It showed a grainy black and white image of a hallway. Not one of our client properties. A narrow hallway with beige walls and fluorescent lights, stretching out of frame. I stared at it, confused. We didn't have access to live camera feeds from client sites unless they specifically subscribed to that service. Keller Accounting didn't. I moved the mouse. The cursor responded normally. The camera feed stayed. At the far end of the hallway, something shifted. Not a person. Just a shadow moving slightly across the wall, like someone had passed in front of a light source out of frame. My mouth went dry. I checked the label on the feed. There was none. Just a blank input. The office phone rang again. I jumped. Same line. I picked up slowly. Security dispatch. You see it, the voice said. The tone was satisfied. What is this? I whispered. The voice ignored the question. Stay on the line, it said. Don't hang up. The hallway feed flickered. For a split second, the image sharpened. And I recognized it. It was our building. The second-floor hallway outside our office. The camera was angled slightly wrong, too low, but I could see the fire extinguisher mounted near the stairwell door. I could see the framed certificate from the dentist's office that hung crooked. The feed was coming from inside the building. I turned slowly toward the office door, as if expecting it to open. You shouldn't have answered, the voice repeated. My heart was pounding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. How are you doing this? I asked. The voice lowered slightly. I'm not in the building, it said. The hallway feed showed the shadow again. This time it paused near our office door. You are, the voice added. The line went dead. I dropped the receiver back into its cradle and stared at the screen. The hallway was empty. The shadow was gone. I stood up and approached the door, pressing my ear against it. Nothing. No footsteps. No breathing. Just silence. I didn't open it. I went back to the desk and tried to disconnect the hallway feed, but there was no option to close it. It wasn't tied to any client account. It didn't respond to the usual controls. At 3:41, the phone rang again. This time, a different line. Incoming, unknown. I hesitated. Then I answered. There was no breathing. No hum. Just the faintest echo, like a room with high ceilings. You left it open, the voice said. What? I asked. The door, it replied. When you checked. I shook my head instinctively, even though it couldn't see me. I locked it, I said. The hallway feed flickered. The office door on the screen was slightly ajar. Just an inch. Enough to show darkness beyond. My stomach dropped. I turned toward the Real door behind me. It looked closed. I walked over and tested the handle. It didn't move. Locked. When I turned back to the monitor, the hallway feed showed the door fully closed again. The voice spoke one last time that night. Don't take another call. The line disconnected. The hallway feed went black. And every system monitor returned to its normal layout. Green across the board. No alarms. No unusual activity. The office felt too still. I sat there until 4:30 without moving, afraid that standing up would trigger something else. No more calls came in. No alarms. No flickering lights. At 6 a.m., my replacement arrived. I didn't mention the calls. I didn't mention the hallway feed. I went home and slept for a few hours, but it wasn't real sleep. Every time my phone buzzed with a notification, I jolted awake. I came back the next night. I told myself I needed to confirm it was a glitch. A prank. Some bizarre system error. The shift was quiet. No calls from Keller Accounting. No hallway feed. At 3:17 a.m., the line lit up. Same property number. I stared at it as it rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. I didn't answer. It stopped. The silence afterward felt heavier than the ringing. At 3:22, the unknown line lit up. I didn't answer. It stopped. The rest of the shift passed without incident. The next night, the same pattern. 3:17 a.m., Keller Accounting line rings. 3:22 a.m., unknown line rings. If I didn't answer, nothing else happened. No hallway feed. No voice. On the 4th night, curiosity got the better of me. At 3:17, when the Keller accounting line lit up, I reached for the receiver. I let it ring twice. Then I hung it up without speaking. The hallway feed appeared instantly. Grainy black and white. The second-floor corridor outside our office. The door was closed. The phone rang again. Unknown line. I picked up. Silence. Then the voice, quieter than before. "You're still here?" "Yes," I said. There was a long pause. "You don't understand," it said finally. "Understand what?" "That it only works if you answer." The hallway feed flickered. For a split second, the camera angle shifted. It was inside the office. Behind my chair. I saw the back of my own head on the screen. I turned around. There was nothing there. When I looked back at the monitor, the feed was gone. The phone line was dead. No more calls came in that night. I quit 2 weeks later. Not because of that call. Because of what happened after. Months passed. I found another job. Daytime hours. Open office. Noise and people in constant motion. One afternoon, during a staff meeting, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I ignored it. A moment later, it buzzed again. Voicemail. I waited until the meeting ended before listening. There was no message. Just breathing. Slow. Measured. Then, at the very end, a quiet voice. "Are you alone?" I deleted the voicemail. Blocked the number. Told myself it was coincidence. It hasn't called again. But sometimes, late at night, when my apartment is quiet and my phone lights up with a notification, I hesitate before looking at it. Because I remember what the voice said the first night. "You shouldn't have answered." And I still don't know who, or what, needed me to.